Hello everyone, my name is Busi and welcome to today's video about how to get into a top 10 graduate school. So I'm not an admissions expert, but I have gone through the recruitment process myself and I landed a place at London Business School with full scholarship. So I am happy to share some of the things that I learned in my recruitment journey and things that I learned from other people's experiences as well. I will speak mostly from the lens of London Business School, but I will try to make the talk more general so that it's applicable to other graduate schools as well. I have put a link down below so that you guys can see which schools rank highest of business schools, but you can also do a simple Google search on your own. This is the best time to apply for graduate school admission, especially, but well, admission in general. August, September is the best time. This is the very best time to apply for admission. If you apply right now for admission, you generally have a higher chance of getting a place because all the places that they want to fill, that the recruitment team wants to fill, are available right now. If you don't apply now, you apply at a later round. Let's say like the next round for LBS, for example, would probably be January. If you apply in January, there'll be much fewer spots. So the people who would be applying at that time would be competing for much fewer spots. But on top of that, there are going to be people who would have been placed in the waiting list from the people who applied in September, October, and those people will also be competing for the very same fewer spaces that will be remaining in January. So my advice would be apply now. You stand a better chance of getting a place if you do apply now. So the earlier you apply, generally the higher your chances of getting a place, but also more than that, the higher are your chances of getting a scholarship, because a lot of scholarship will still be available. If you apply in December or January, by the time you get a place around Feb, March, April, a lot of the scholarships would have closed. So it's just always best to apply early, right? Of course, you can still get an offer, you can still get a scholarship even if you apply a bit later. You just really widen your chances of getting all that, of getting a place and getting a scholarship if you apply early. Applications like graduate school applications or business school applications are really just a thing of you demonstrating the value that you bring to the table, the value that you're trying to get from the school or from the course that you're applying to. It's you trying to demonstrate to the recruitment team why they should choose you. Yes, there are a lot of places, so they're going to choose you, they're going to choose the next person as well, but you're trying to demonstrate why they should choose you to be part of that team. Universities, graduate schools are always looking for people and candidates that fit into the culture of the school, and they also expect you as a candidate to be looking for schools that also and courses as well that fit into your goals or into your life. So you need to be able to demonstrate how that particular school and how that course fit into your life, and at the same time you need to demonstrate how you are a good fit into that community. So that means you need to know what that community entails in order for you to demonstrate that, but you also need to know what you are looking for in order to demonstrate how that school and that course fit into your life. That being said, let's get right into it. So the recruitment process generally has 3 stages. The first one would be application, and then after application, if you're successful, you are invited for an interview, and then from there you are given a decision. It could be you're getting an offer, or you're being put in the wait list, or you're being rejected. These 3 main steps, the application, interview, and decision, they usually take around 1 to 3 months. So each school will have its own process, it will have its own timeline, so it varies from school to school. The most important part of the recruitment is probably the first part, which is the application, because if you make it through the application stage, then you go to the next stage, which is the interview. But if you don't make it through the application stage, by default you can't get an interview and you can't get an offer, right? So we are going to focus today on the application stage, and you need to put all your energy into this right now. For interviews, you will typically be interviewed by either someone from the recruitment team, like an employee of the school from the recruitment team, or someone who's studied at the school before, an alum. And the idea here generally is to determine if the person, beyond the application, beyond the resume, beyond the things that they put on paper, right, if this candidate who's applying would fit well into the culture. If, for example, the alum that's interviewing you would be happy to have you, the candidate, is part of their circle, and chances that the school would also be happy to have you as part of its community. And then from there, you then get an offer. Could be a straight up offer, it could be waitlist, or if you're unsuccessful, then you maybe get rejected. So when you're applying for admission, what you really want to get is an offer. What is important though is that you go through the website of the school that you're applying to and thoroughly go through all the pages, as much pages as you can, so that you get a comprehensive understanding of the course, the school, and everything else around. It will help you in your application. It will help you as you're framing your essays. It will help you decide if you really do want to go to the school. I will share these 7 application essentials, but at the end of the day, there is no silver bullet. There's nothing that makes you immune. There's nothing that you can do so well that makes you immune to not getting a place, or there's nothing that you can be quite weak at that makes it impossible for you to get a place at the end of the day. So what you need to do generally is to do the very best that you can in each of these categories, in each of the application elements, so that you increase your chances of getting a place, and so that you give the best impression of yourself that you can to the admission team, right? So that even if at the end of the day, even if you don't get a place, you know that you've literally done your best, and you haven't just deceived yourself into believing that you've done your best, but you actually have done your best. Your application will be assessed as a whole. So if you're weak in one area, you can at least make up for it in the other areas, as long as you really have done your best in everything that you're putting together. That being said, you will need an undergraduate degree to do a postgraduate degree. You will need an aptitude test. You will need proof of language proficiency. You will need work experience. It varies. We're going to get deeper into that. You may need to write application essays. You will have to pay the application fee. You will have to have extras that boost your application, that give flesh to your application, that probably speak as well to your personality, what kind of person you really are, the things that matter to you the most, right? Those are the 7 main things that we're going to be talking about today. So getting into greater detail, the first one, undergraduate degree. So the general interpretation of undergraduate degree as far as postgraduate recruitment is concerned is honors degree. You probably will not get a place for postgraduate degree if you don't have an honors degree. You could have an undergraduate degree, which is a bachelor's degree, but without an honors degree, it would be very difficult. But it's not necessarily impossible. So with the undergraduate degree, you don't necessarily have to have obtained it already, but that depends on which course you're applying to and the school that you're applying to. For most schools, if you're applying for MBAs, which generally require you to have a bit more work experience, it's expected that you already have completed your degree. But if you're applying for recruitment in early careers courses, right, which don't require much experience, or if at all, then you can apply when you're in your final year of your undergraduate degree, such that by the time you're applying, you haven't obtained your undergraduate degree, but you should reasonably expect to obtain it at a particular period, usually before the start of the program. Number 2 is aptitude test. So for aptitude test, the more universally recognized tests that we have for business schools are GMAT and GRE. So probably use GMAT for the sake of ease of conversation in this video. GMAT is a compulsory element of the application, especially for top ranking schools. You almost always will not get away with not having a GMAT with high ranking schools. You can get away with lower ranking schools, but not with top business schools. With top ranking schools, it's advisable to get above 700 out of 800. If you do happen to not get a 700 and something GMAT score and get maybe a 680 or 660, you would have to make up for it in other areas of the application to boost your application. Sitting for the test costs around $250 plus or minus, depending on which part of the world you're at, and that's for the test itself. For the rest of the resources that you would need to prepare for the test, the cost can go up to $1,000, but well, you can decide whether or not you can afford that, or whether or not you want to buy that. There are also a lot of free resources online that you can find. You can go to GMAT, which is the body that administers GMAT and other aptitude tests as well. They have free samples, but those are usually not the most comprehensive, but you can always try to work around it and probably give yourself more time and look for other sources as well that can help you practice for the test. Another way would be to team up with a couple of other people so that you can share resources. You can buy together the practice and revision resources and share them among yourselves, and also so that you can share the cost among yourselves as well. I would advise you to give yourself around 6 months to do the GMAT, but that also depends on your English and mathematical background. So if you have a very good numerical background, you may not need as much time, but you still will need to give yourself enough time to actually do the practice tests and figure them out and assess yourself to see how you fare in the GMAT test. Simply being good at math will probably not be enough for you to sit the GMAT test. You need to do it the way GMAT sets it. I will share other tips about how you can lower your GMAT cost or how you can write for free, for example, in my next video. If you have done CFA and you're trying to get admission for a finance course, like core finance course, then some schools would be able to take you without the GMAT. Some schools like LBS though will allow you to use CFA in place of GMAT if you're applying for a finance course, so that could be a plus for someone who already has done CFA. The third element of the application process is the proof of language proficiency. Schools and countries generally want to bring in people who understand the language that is being used in that particular country, in that particular school. Most of the high-ranking schools happen to be in English-speaking countries, so chances are, if you're applying to a high-ranking schools, you're going to have to prove your proficiency of English language. The tests that are most widely used are LSAT and TOEFL. Some schools and some countries can waiver the English language requirement for people that come from certain recognized English-speaking countries, but you can still get around it if your undergraduate degree was fully taught in English and you can actually demonstrate that. The fourth element is application essays. So I will talk about this, but I have a separate video made for this one specifically because I feel like it's a very big component of the application. A lot of work needs to be done here. I don't know of a high-ranking school that does not require you to have essays. By the way, high-ranking schools may be relative. For someone, top 100 is still high-ranking, but in this case, I'm talking about top 10 business schools, graduate schools. So top 10 would definitely require you to have an application essay. There is a lot that makes you a great candidate that can't be reflected in English test or in GMAT, right? And so the application essays gives you a chance and a platform to showcase that whatever it is that makes you attractive as a candidate that cannot be showcased in GMAT test or in LSAT. It also gives you a chance to make up for the weaknesses in other parts of your application. In the application essays, you will typically be asked to address, the question may come in different ways, but usually it's asking you to address why you want to apply to that particular school, why the particular course that you're applying to, and why at that particular time of your life or at that point in your career. And the second part of the question would usually be around what value you are bringing, like what do you bring to the table, to the school itself, or how are you going to contribute to the clubs, to the maybe student SRC if you're planning to do that, or whatever it is. So it's important to research. Again, I'll emphasize this, go through the website as thoroughly as you can so that you get as much information about the school and the opportunities for giving back, the opportunities for participating at the school, and the things that you're interested in the school, which clubs, student clubs you want to join, how you want to contribute, what ideas you have. You can always put all that, and that is what is going to make you stand out as an applicant. Because remember, everyone or almost everyone will be having the GMAT, will be having the English test score, will be having an undergraduate degree, and for top schools, a lot of the people will be having like first class degrees as well, right? So what is it that is going to make you stand out? The application essays is something that can then make you stand out, that can make you like showcase yourself, how different you are, or what value it is that you bring, or what diversity it is that you actually bring to the table. These two are standard questions. You will need to master them well. There will be a lot of information on the website, on other pages, on YouTube, and a lot of other places that can help you to make your application essays rich. There'll be testimonials from students, from student ambassadors that you can read and get the tone of the school and get the tone of the admissions team and get the tone of the culture that can help you to frame your own essays, that can help you to give your own essays a tone from reading those. And if you read quite a number of them, you're going to get an average tone to most accurately estimate the tone that you should use as you're putting together your application essay. But that's not to say that you have to use that whatever tone it is that you get from there if it actually does not represent you. This is for someone who is looking for a tone to use. If you have your own tone that you have that you feel is good and is going to get you a place, definitely use that. You can also talk to current students at the school or students who are doing the particular course that you are interested in, or the particular courses that you're interested in. They will give you a feel of what the school is like. They'll give you a feel of what the student's body is like. They'll give you insight into what the curriculum actually feels like, or how they're benefiting and so forth. And that will feed into your application essays. That will probably also feed into whether or not you decide to continue with that particular application or the particular course that you're pursuing. So it's definitely important. If you don't know any current or former students personally, then you could go on LinkedIn and search for students that have gone at that particular school or that are currently studying at that particular school, and reach out to a couple of them. The best advice I can give pertaining to essays is be that. Go through the website back to back, talk to the current and former students, know why you're applying to that school, know why you are applying to that particular course. So if you're applying for MBA, know why I'm applying for MBA and not Masters in Finance or Masters in Engineering or Masters in Arts or whatever. You should be convinced of it yourself before you can try and convince the next person. Let me know in the comments if you think that me reading my essays out loud to you guys would help you to kind of get a sense as well of what a typical essay would look like. That's not to say that my essay is perfect, but it probably is generally good because I got a full scholarship out of it. But also just to help give you a tone, you can also search online, look for sample application essays online. There'll be a lot that you can try and put together to put your own application. But let me know if you would like to have me read mine out. The fifth part of the application is the application fee. High ranking schools will typically require you to pay application fee because it's an investment. Postgraduate study at a very high ranking school is an investment. Application fees will vary from school to school, from program to program. For early career programs, it will usually be cheaper, and it will usually be more expensive for MBA and executive programs. For executive programs, it's probably around $200 to $300 and maybe around $100 to $200 for early careers programs. For people that have been in the army, work in the army, and for people that serve in certain non-profit organizations in certain countries, they usually are allowed to apply without application fee, but there is a process of how to go around that. But even if you're not in the army, or if you're not working for the particular non-profit organizations, or if you haven't attended any of the events that make you eligible for an application fee waiver, you can still apply for an application fee waiver. I will talk more about that in my next video, so stay tuned. Subscribe so that you don't miss that video. The sixth element is work experience. So this again is going to vary from school to school, but also from program to program. For early careers, you typically don't need a lot of work experience, if at all. For mature programs, like mature people programs, the MBAs and executive programs, you will need experience, and the more experience you have, the better. But not just that, the better quality experience, the better. For early careers experience at London Business School, for example, you need 0 to 2 years work experience. That's not to say if you have 0 years of experience, it's okay. It's probably not the best, doesn't put you in the best place to have 0 years work experience. But if you have 0 years work experience, and you have internships from during your undergraduate study, or you've done attachment or a placement of some kind, then that counts not as full-time work experience, but it can help you improve your profile. If you have more than 2 years work experience, full-time work experience after your undergraduate degree, it will typically not be accepted, but I'm not going to tell you that they're going to reject you, because you may be able to justify why you want to do that particular program at that particular school, regardless of the work experience that you have. It's up to you. You are the one that knows better the dynamics of your experience, the dynamics of what you're looking for, and you are the one that can make the best decision of this. You weigh the costs, you weigh the benefits of you applying and not applying for this particular program, and you make the decision. And then for the MBA and Masters in Finance, the mid-career and later career programs, you typically need more work experience. So the more work experience, the better for this program. Average is usually around 5 to 10, depending on the school, depending on the program as well. But you don't necessarily need to have all that work experience if you have quality work experience. So you could have very strong work experience, very high quality work experience for 3 or 4 years, and still be at a greater advantage than someone who has 10 years working experience, but in an area that is not of so great quality. Even if you have 2 years work experience, you could still get a place for an MBA if your work experience is really exceptional. So first of all, maybe it's generally in a high quality industry, but also maybe the things that you've achieved within that 2 years, and the recommendations or whatever it is that you can use to make up for it, and also your justification of wanting to do an MBA with 2 years postgraduate work experience. All that counts. So it's just a thing of demonstrating why you want to do this. If you can see, the lesson that we learned from the last video of starting with the end in mind is also coming into play, because whatever it is that you're doing now, you have an end in mind. So regardless of that you don't perfectly fit into the eligibility requirements, if you have an end that you have in mind and you can demonstrate it to the admissions team, you probably will be successful. So for the extras, it could literally be anything. It could be short courses that you've done. So if you want to do a finance postgrad degree, but maybe you don't have finance work experience, maybe you're an engineer or whatever you've been doing, you could maybe do some short courses in finance or investments and use those to demonstrate your interest in finance and investments, for example. You could literally just do any short course that can help you explain and demonstrate how you're investing into whatever it is that you want to get out of LBS or whatever school that it is that you're applying to, and whatever course it is that you're applying to. Other things that you can also look into are volunteering experience, demonstrate leadership, however it is that you can actually demonstrate leadership, extracurriculars, which could be sports, or you could have started a business. It doesn't have to be a unicorn or anything, but it could just be you demonstrating that you are a self-starter, that you take responsibility, that you are innovative, or whatever it is that you want to showcase to the admission team to improve your profile, your candidacy profile. You literally need to have extras. They kind of add a lot of value, that you're not just someone who's just going to come and sit in class and learn, and then after that you go home and next day you just come in class and there's nothing else around you. Of course, you still can get a place and you still can do well in life with that kind of life, but what they're trying to get as much as possible is people who bring these extras, who bring more life to the life that is already there. You need to be able to contribute in that respect. You need to be able to demonstrate. It's not going to be enough for you to just be a self-starter, for you to just be someone who takes responsibility, for you to just be someone who takes initiative without being able to demonstrate it to the admissions team. You need to be able to demonstrate it to the admissions team so that they can see the picture that you're painting, because they have no clue who you are. They have no idea what it is that you can bring unless you actually demonstrate it to them. So you'll need to think about who you're going to ask to be a reference. Usually you have to have a professional reference and a personal reference, and sometimes a professional could be divided into two. There could be like someone from your former school and someone from your most recent workplace, but you also need to start figuring out who it is that's going to do the reference for you, and do that when you still have enough time, so that you have the referee, the person doing the referencing for you, can do it within the time frame which they're expected to do it. Again, this is really a negotiation process that happens in your absence. That's the only difference. There's not any one of these elements that is non-negotiable. You just have to find a way to make up for the weaknesses of one area in the other area, and there isn't one that makes you immune to getting rejected. There isn't anyone that guarantees your place. I remember when I was still looking into applying, and I was on the GMAT page, and I was seeing people with GMAT scores of 780 out of 800 having gotten rejections from a couple of high-ranking schools, and it didn't quite make sense, but over time it did begin to make sense that simply having a high GMAT score or simply excelling exceptionally in any one particular area does not guarantee a place if other areas don't feel like you've put enough effort, because the admission team wants to feel like you've put enough effort in your all-round application, which is why they have an all-round application, which is why they don't just use GMAT to admit people. They use the entire application. So really it's a negotiation process. You negotiating different parts of the application, and the admission team also trying to see how they can work around with the different parts of your application to come up with a final score that determines whether or not you would make a good candidate at that particular school. You could have the highest GMAT score, or you could have the best English language test score, or you could have the highest GPA that ever happened under the sun. But if admission team feels like you haven't put enough effort into your essays and into whatever else that they feel like you haven't put enough effort into, then that may come out as arrogance, and you don't want them thinking that about you because you're trying to get a place. You don't want them to think about that about you ever, and especially not when you're applying for admission. If you are not sure about your eligibility or which program to apply to, you can always reach out to the admission team. There will almost always be an email on the website which directs you to whoever it is that you can speak to from the admissions team, and they can help you and maybe advise you or guide you and so forth. So when you're reaching out to them, also try to present yourself in the best light, right? Try to present and structure your message or your inquiry or whatever it is that you're reaching out to them about in a way that makes you attractive to them, at least attractive enough that they are happy to devote some time helping you out, and they're happy to help you figure out whatever it is that you're trying to figure out, right? Because yes, they are at work, yes, it's their job to respond, but they are going to be more keen to respond and help out people who approach them in a way that is attractive than they will be with people who just randomly say whatever it is that they want to say without regard that the person on the other side of the email or the inquiry is actually a full human being as well. In my last video, we emphasized on starting with an end in mind. Today, I will share with you a quote from Nelson Mandela. It goes, "If you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy. Then he becomes your partner." So you're not enemies with anyone. Don't go around making enemies with anyone. But this is just to say, you and the admissions team are on different sides of the same coin. You are on different sides, but at the end of the day, you want the same thing. You are looking for a great school, and they are looking for great candidates. So give them what they want and make their day, and you will be surprised how they'll make it up to you. In my next video, I will share with you how I overcame weaknesses in parts of my application, to the point that I actually got a full scholarship that did not previously exist. So subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you get a notification when I upload the video, and also give a thumbs up to this video, like this video, so that the algorithms on YouTube can signal to other people that this is a very useful video, and so that other people can watch it as well. And also share with your friends and whoever else that will find this video useful, and I will see you in the next video.